And we are live. Good.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second session of the Startup Week Next Generation. I'm having a bad hair day, therefore, I'm getting my hat on for the time being. Probably right after this show, I'll go and have a haircut. But regardless, I'm very happy to see Mesut, who is somewhere in between tech entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur, but definitely with a 100% goal and a focus. He really has an inspiring story of, I'm not going to steal the thunder, but of how he decided to not tell the truth to his parents, when he was actually trying to make ends meet in Istanbul, right after the earthquake in one. And I would really suggest our listeners, right after this, find the time to watch his TEDx talk, and get to know him a little better personally. But maybe I think it may be a good time to ask, like, can you tell us briefly why E-Bursum is so important for you? Why are you in this journey? And like, what are the top couple of things that you wish you had known while you before you started this entrepreneurial journey of E-Bursum?
All right. So first of all, thank you, Ozan, for having me. It's always a pleasure for me to meet young entrepreneurs and the youngsters. So thank you very much for having me here tonight.
Pleasure.
The question is actually why E-Bursum is super important to me and why I started to do such thing. Actually, the story begins in 2011 when we had an earthquake in my hometown in east of Turkey. So after the earthquake, I had difficulty to continue my education, like financial difficulties, and these financial difficulties actually drive me to understand the current system, the current financial system, which is not super inclusive for young people. So that was kind of the problem. And I was kind of one of the lucky ones because I had chance to find scholarship after my research. But I saw the problem. The problem was bigger than mine. Actually, the problem bigger than was bigger than myself as well, because there are around 25 million people here in Turkey uh, who we can count as students. So it's kind of 30% of the country. That's one of the biggest in the region. And according to the OECD report, we have 8 million college students, and the 85% of them, they have difficulties uh, in order to access financial resources. So the thing is, what I have done was actually being a part of the solution instead of being a part of the problem. Studying computer engineering degree, it's kind of encouraged me to start E-Bursum, because I saw the problem, and I thought that, all right, I'm not the first student in this country, and I won't be the last. So, but the system is corrupt. So, and I believe that education is the most important thing before everything that we talk. If we talk about climate change, that's because of lack of education. If we talk about gender equality, like these things we learn from schools. So if the educational system is broke, I think everything is broke. So that's actually it's still my motivation to to work in education field actually. So that was a thing.
And
And
when you
yeah.
look into the education side of things, You did not get any entrepreneurship education. You were getting a computer science degree. Would that be important, or would you have done things differently if you had also an understanding of entrepreneurship even before you started college, even when you were studying in London? Would the education and awareness part of entrepreneurship, if you were introduced to that, would that make a difference in E-Bursum, or would that make a difference in your journey?
Yeah, I think it would definitely change so many things. First of all, like I have experienced everything from scratch. Everything, like the financial part of a startup, like the selling part, selling a product, and doing the marketing, everything. I think the biggest challenge was I didn't have enough access to these kind of resources. Like 6 years back, I think Turkish entrepreneurship ecosystem wasn't that great, right? Like it's still, we call it. I think in Turkey we don't call entrepreneurship ecosystem. We call like the mini entrepreneurship ecosystem, right? And the 6 year back, 7 years back, I think it was a small entrepreneurship ecosystem. So it was hard to access these kind of resources or information. So I think it would be definitely much better if I was being taught to to know how to manage finance, to know how to sell something, and to know how to actually do marketing, and to how to manage team, which is the most important thing
Yeah,
of a founder or of a co-founder.
that is an important part of building a startup. And when you look into your experience as a founder, I know that going through some incubation programs, some university-based accelerators, helped you put together a better plan and help you get some visibility. Um, what was the real challenge when you first started? Was it financing? Was it sales? Was it? And as far as I know, you have one co-founder, or how many people are you working with at the moment? So you don't have a co-founder yet, right? Right. So how
No,
did
I
you?
don't have a
How,
co-founder, but we are 17.
so what were the biggest obstacles you had when you were beginning this journey?
I think the biggest challenge was creating a team, because I think having like a good team can help you to sell a product, can help you to make money, and can help you to do other things as well. So that's super important for a founder or co-founder to create a good team, a good team, because the thing is, you have to tell your dream, and you have to convince people with your dream. That was the biggest challenge, because people have other plans, other dreams. So
Ah, I think we lost Mesut. Let me try to catch back up. Um, I hope we can get back soon. Sorry for the connectivity issues. Um, no, he's back.
yeah, so
Nice.
yeah,
No
sorry
worries.
for the connect.
No problem. No
So,
problem.
so
So the
yeah,
team, the team, building the team was a real difficulty. Finding people with the right mindset. And how did you convince them? How did you convince your first employee when you have almost nothing, right?
yeah, definitely, because when you start, you don't have you don't have billions to or millions to give away, right? You don't have like the really high salaries to give people. So that was the challenge, and it takes time. How I have convinced people, actually, I told my dream, and I said that I don't want to be the next richest person in this on this earth. I will be the one, or we will be the ones who create social impact. Because I believe that instead of making a white middle-aged man much richer, we have to make the community much richer, and like not richer, but like a more how would I say, more conscious about social problems, about like the solution. I think that's how I have convinced people, companies, or like the shareholders or stakeholders. I think that's it, because we are sick of being a part of a corrupt system. That's the problem. And when you tell the truth, and when you be like 100% transparent to people, people believe in you. I think this is how I have convinced people.
So, I mean, I'm teaching entrepreneurship in the high school at the moment, and the more I teach, it's been almost a year. I've been teaching for 2 semesters, and I introduced them to the concepts of social entrepreneurship and social impact. And actually, I realized I didn't even need to introduce them the social impact concept, because the kids of our age, the high schoolers, are perfectly aware of what's going on around them, but they don't know entrepreneurship is a solution, because they think, much like you said, entrepreneurship creates rich white people. But now they're also getting aware of the fact that there's social entrepreneurship they can be part of. They can build their own social entrepreneurs. Do you think teaching high school kids, or how do you think we should teach high school kids to have more confidence in themselves, to start building products, projects, services, much like you did, to solve a problem that they have? Maybe they don't have a boost problem or scholarship problem, but how can we make them more confident so they can start building their own startups? Maybe not even wait until they're in college.
First of all, I think that not everyone is going to be an entrepreneur. That's 100% sure, right? The thing that we have to teach like the young people is not how to be an entrepreneur, is actually how to think like an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurial thinking is much more important than to be an entrepreneur. And the
Yeah.
second thing is actually we have to teach them system leadership, because we need leaders to change systems, right? We don't want to be a part of the corrupt system. We don't need new entrepreneurs, but not everyone. We need system changes in, I don't know, private sector, yeah, in private sector, in public sector, in healthcare system. So we have to teach them how to think, how to find, or how to see the corrupt parts of a system, and how to actually change the system, and how to create a solution. This is the most important thing. How we can do that actually is demanding them, or teaching these young people to be part of projects like the NGO projects, social enterprise projects, or other enterprises projects. So they have to, if they want to practice, they have to have their hands dirty, right? So I think having new ideas from youngsters would help to enterprises as well. Like I think we have seen like the big companies having, I don't know, having new committees or boards of young people, because they need it. They need new ideas. Because as you have mentioned, you don't have to tell young people what's a social impact, because they were born into social impact. And I
Yeah.
have last thing to say on this subject. I think our grandparents, they were born in a really unstable conditions, right? They have seen two wars, and they had so
Yeah.
many problems. So the only thing uh, that was actually motivating them was having a stable life, which was public sector, right? for our parents, like their children, they're seeing the stable lives. What
in
was
private sector.
motivating them? Exactly, private sector. They want to have more money, right? They want to have like a holiday. They want to travel, and we have seen these things with our parents as well. But now our generation, we know what a stable life is. We know what is like earning so much feels like, right? But we don't know what is the
Purpose.
system that the purpose, actually, the system that offers impact to your life, to others' life. So I think this new generation is much luckier than previous ones,
I
and
agree.
that's why they ask so many questions. That's why they actually, how do you say it, uh, they ask so many questions about companies' essentials, because they argue with CEOs, they argue with founders, because they want to know the basics, the essentials, instead of
Yep.
all commercials or other things. I think this is what's gonna happen. They want to find a new purpose for their life.
So catching back on the purpose side and their ability to question things, much like you mentioned, like the university education system, how merit-based learning or how merit-based scholarships was missing. I think we also have a problem in the high schools. The high schools, the universities are not getting people ready for life. They're not getting people ready for entrepreneurship. They're not getting ready for work life as much as they used to, or a meaningful or a purposeful life. But the high schools are also having the same problem. High schools are trying to get the students ready for an exam and then to college. But real life experiences is most of the time is missing from the high schools as well. But if you are like you've seen many students, many young people over the course of the last 6, 7 years get through E-Bursum, sustain themselves and become successful people, find jobs and find purpose. What would you suggest to schools, high schools, in teaching these young people how to look in life? Like, can we start changing or influencing schools before we wait until the students graduate and then they go to college? Is that something that we can do?
It's definitely something that we can learn and we can teach, actually, because we don't have to wait until like a student gets his or her 20s to be ready for the life. The thing that is missing in the current system is the practice. I think Turkish educational system teaches very well the theoretical part of anything, like in medicine, in engineering, anything. But the practice part is missing. It's a huge missing part. And all the schools, we have so many labs, we have so many, I don't know, it's for complex, but we don't have so many programs that teach students the systems. We don't see so many students in companies. We don't see so many students in startups, because the system wants you to learn the theoretical part of the things, not the practical part of it. So my suggestion to like the schools or educational institutions would be actually put so much practice into curriculum, because otherwise that's not possible. Let me give you an example. I think the scholarship problem is a huge problem in Turkey. But the second problem that is as big as scholarship or financial problem is internship. Students, they don't have access to internships. So think a country that doesn't give opportunities to youngsters to learn, because we have theoretical information everywhere. Come on, like, just open a tab, type on Google anything, you will find it.
Go to
But the
YouTube,
thing
go
that
to Udemy,
exactly, if you pay, I don't know, 30 lira on Udemy, you will learn the subject. But
something.
the difference is it depends on the practice, but we don't give the practice. So I think, yeah, like the having practice at the college, it's too late. I was 21 when I was doing my first internship. Come on, like I have seen people who were 21 and who were MP in other countries. So that's the biggest missing part of our educational system.
And I mean, this is very critical. I think there are different stages. One, students have to be aware that entrepreneurship is a career option. They need to practice once they understand what entrepreneurship is, well, how the current economic model works, how the education will work. They need to understand. They need to be aware, and then they need to study. They need to understand, and they need to practice. But when you come into the practice part, do you think, and as we discussed, like not all students will graduate to become entrepreneurs. It doesn't make sense. But do you think we are living in an age where these kids, 10 to 18-year-old, I mean, I'm taking a broad perspective, these kids will live the life of their parents, like get in a job, stay there for 5, 6, 10 years, find another job, stay there 5, 6, 10 years? Or do you think they also need to be ready for a different corporate world where every 3 years, every 2 years, every 5 years, they need to reskill themselves? So they need to learn how to learn as well. And practice is a huge part of this. As companies grow older, they lose their ability to be flexible. They lose their ability to be innovative. And I think what we can teach these kids is also, even if they're not going to be entrepreneurs, how to work with entrepreneurs. And as an entrepreneur, what are the couple of skills that you really look forward in teens, in anybody that you're hiring? What are the top 3 things that you cannot see in a CV, you cannot see in a degree? What are the things that they should be focusing on to getting?
Yeah, good question. First of all, let me tell you the question that you have asked at the beginning. Actually, I think this generation and the next generation, they won't live their parents' lives, because look at one of the greatest example of young people. I would say Greta. She changed so many things. She has changed the mindset of companies, the mindset of presidents, and she's a great example of a young person who can not change the world, at least the mindset. So I think these young people, they will change this system, because this system is corrupt. This system doesn't work. Look at we are in a middle of a pandemic, and the system doesn't work. We have to like the solution of the pandemic is to vaccine everyone on the earth in order to be as free as before, right? So this system tells us I'm broken, and we have to rebuild a new system. So I think this generation has actually has realized that they have the responsibility, and they don't rely on previous generations for their future. So I think this generation will change the system. So that's the first thing, and the uh, abilities or skills that I look when I hire someone, or when I like to hire someone for the team. F- First of all, the the most important skill or ability, I would say, taking responsibility, because we need people who can take responsibilities. We need people who can actually think differently, think innovative. By saying innovative, I don't mean like the searching Google and the copy pasting like the Wikipedia content. That's innovative, right? Innovative, like the there is a saying, think out of the box. I think that's not the reality. There, it doesn't. Sorry, there isn't that box. Just kill the box. Come with a new solution. Like I don't want people to think out of the box or in the box. I want people to think totally differently, right?
There is no
That's the
box.
There is no box, definitely. And uh, in social entrepreneurship ecosystem, we have our, like, I'm an Ashoka fellow, and our founder Bill Drayton, he says, don't give a fish,
Yeah, don't
don't
teach
teach
them to
how to
fish.
fish, and
Change the fishing industry.
teach exactly. But what I say, save the fish, because we have to save the fish first to change the system, right? So the first thing that I look is taking responsibility. Second thing is, uh, I would say that's super cliche, but being a team member. Because if you do not appreciate differences in a team, or differences in other things in startup world, it, it's not gonna work. So we might have the best person, best IT guy, best marketing guy, but if he or she is not a team member, it doesn't make sense. It's not working. Been there, done that. I've I've had so many, like, a great colleagues, but they weren't team members, so it didn't work. That's the second thing, and the last thing that I really care is, uh, what are their values like? I mean, do they care about the social impact that we create? Do they care about, I don't know, environment or anything? What's this person's value? So that's super important to me, because if someone has a value, or I don't know, in a touching point, I think he or she can do anything for this touching point. So we need to have an aim for all of us to change a system. So that's the third thing that I look when I hire someone.
Those are really great, especially the one about the team. And that's also something that schools do not used to not teach as much. I mean, now I see schools are giving a lot of emphasis on group work. Universities are doing a little better job in like giving skills to manage teams, to get something out of the teams, and values especially are something you cannot teach. You can show as examples, and the more we give these young people role models like you who turned a problem into an opportunity and to impact, I think this is going to also inspire them and say, hey, wait a second, like this guy is like not even 30 and he's created this much impact. So this person is not even 25, or Greta in the case, like not even a graduate of anywhere, but she has really made a lot of impression and impact. Um, Maybe on another note, I think what we don't have in Turkey and some other developing economies as well is, as I said, like balanced role models. Like gender balance in entrepreneurship is a big deal, big issue. And you also have first-hand experience and data on how many uh, young women are getting scholarships, how many young men are getting scholarships. Do you think there is a growing is it getting better uh, compared to when you started in terms of the amount of scholarships going to female students or male students? Or is this something that's even a problem in Turkey anymore? Because we have seen a lot of movements in Turkey getting a lot of gender equality into the system. But I think we're successful in giving people these opportunities, but the work life is still not balanced in that sense. What's your observations on that? Because you also have the data to back any claim and
Yeah.
any research.
So, according to our data, we have more than 1.3 million users, and we have distributed more than 75 million Turkish lira. So that's kind of the E-Bursum's impact in numbers, right? And according to our data, we have like all the scholarship awardees, 60% of them are women. 60. So that's much better. But the thing that we see when they graduate, uh, I would say 60% of young men they find a job, but like so many young women they're not able to find a job. So sometimes I question myself. I say that we invest in these people, but women they are good at receiving scholarships. They are good at finding a job, right? But that's not their problem. That's the system's problem still, because the system, as I said, teaches us how to be a good student I mean, on the paper. But especially young women, they don't have access to internships or these kind of things, so they don't have access to jobs. So that's the problem that we are actually tackling right now. So that's the data that we have actually. As I said, 60% of scholarship awardees are women, so that's quite good. But still, we have a long way to go.
I agree. The team has notified there are a couple of questions, and maybe you can put in one of them. So yesterday, İlker Baydar was mentioning that these students who are now graduating from college or from high school will see corporates not giving them enough purpose to work for, and let alone not enough jobs are available. But even if there are jobs available, the students will not pick those jobs that don't give them purpose, don't give them ability to show their values. So they will start turning and becoming more self employed, create careers of their own through entrepreneurship. Can we facilitate that, or what should we do to make that happen? If it's something good, should we push students to build their own careers by being entrepreneurs, or should we just tell, well, this is really difficult, you should better get a job? What would you suggest?
Yeah, as we have mentioned, not everyone is going to be an entrepreneur, but we should definitely teach youngsters that being an entrepreneur is a definitely an alternative career way, right? So we have to teach them they can be entrepreneurs, but they don't have to be. They have a third option. That's super important to me. And the second thing about being self-employed, that's going to happen according to McKinsey's reports, or like the World Bank report. That was going to happen in 2025, 2030, but the
COVID
pandemic
hit,
changed
yeah,
it. The
exactly.
pandemic, yeah, no, exactly. Now it's happening because before, being physically in a country or in a city was kind of a condition for finding a job. And now the pandemic showed us that having your brain, having your abilities on a computer, that's the only condition that so many companies looking for. And I think the pandemic helped us to create impact wherever we are, right? So that's super important. And the second thing, being self-employed, it's super important. But what I suggest, being a part of a team, it's more important. So if we are going to be self-employed, if we are going to like to create new enterprises, new ventures, we should have a theme, because one man or one woman show, it doesn't work. Been there, done that. It doesn't work. The first year of my like the career in startup, I was the one man show man, right? And it didn't work. So that's the thing. So I think it's gonna be more and more employed people, and that's super important. That's the new way of working. That's not the new way of companies. That the companies will be kind of a roof for employed people.
Right. So when we were designing the program, I thought half an hour would be enough, but apparently it's not going to be enough for so many questions that we have. So I strongly encourage all the audience to go and chat on Discord and keep the conversation live, keep the conversation flowing. We have a few moments until the next session starts, but feel free to shoot your questions on Discord. And I hope Mesut will also be able to find time to get into the community questions and everything else. Mesut, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for being a role model and for all the abilities you're giving them through financial inclusion, financial equality in a way, to all the students that are going through E-Bursum and getting things done. Maybe one last thing is like, what's next? When do you think you'll say, okay, I've done my job, now I have to find something else? Do you think there's ever going to be a time where you say, okay, E-Bursum is going well, I have another problem to solve? Is that something that you have in mind, or would you become a gray-haired man, multiplying the figures, not just 75 million, but maybe 7.5 billion? Where is the end for you? What's your goal? That's a
So
tough
first of
one.
all, thank you. Yeah, that's a tough one, but I have thought about this. Uh, First of all, thank you very much for having me tonight. Like it was a big pleasure for me to answer all these questions and to have a discussion with you. And the answer is for me. Uh, the thing in social entrepreneurship, the challenge is the size of the problems that we try to solve. They are not small, and they are not easy to solve. If they were easy to solve, I wouldn't be the first one who was trying to solve this scholarship problem in Turkey, right? And when I was mentioning system change, guys, systems don't change quite easily,
Yeah.
because if there's a saying that we say, actually, the only change that doesn't the only thing that doesn't change is the change, but the second thing that doesn't change is the resistance
Resistance to
against
change.
the change.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. So I think, for me, there are still years, I would say, to solve this problem. There are still years, but the one day I want to actually shut down E-Bursum, because this time will be the time that E-Bursum succeeds, right?
Yeah.
Because there isn't a problem, why would be
Yeah.
a
Then you
solution, right?
exactly.
Yeah, so
So
that's the
absolutely.
thing. But yeah, but still, if E-Bursum is going to operate, if we are going to run E-Bursum, at some point I have to get out from E-Bursum, because that's not e-Mesut. That's not heropreneurship. It should be entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship, not
Yeah.
heropreneurship. So at some point I will definitely get out from E-Bursum, but I don't know when or how.
Anyways, we wish you all the best, not in just
Thank you.
finding another thing, finding another path, but going until the end of this path and see what lies in the future. Thank you so much. Much respect. And we'll catch up soon. Thanks, everyone. Keep the conversation up in Discord. And next is another good friend of mine that I had the pleasure to work with. I'm not going to be moderating, so you're not going to see my terrible hair, but you'll be having Pelin Rodopu from UNDP to talk about the SDG and what UNDP does to change the world. Actually, is a nice continuation of the current conversation. Thank you, Mesut. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Have a good
Osam.
one. You're welcome.